Welcome to the channel, guys. Thanks for clicking on the link. I'm going to talk to you about the LSAT and what you need to do to improve on the LSAT. My diagnostic score was 151. I managed to get it up to 173. I think these tips are going to help you get there as well. I can't guarantee that you're going to get to that number, but I'm sure you're going to get an improvement. So why don't we dive into the video right away? If you do like the content, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I'm just starting this channel. I want to see what I can do with YouTube. There's going to be a lot more stuff on law school, a lot more stuff on business. So like and subscribe, and let's dive into this video. So the LSAT, as many of you know, is a prerequisite in order to get to most accredited law schools in the United States and Canada. I think that's true for other countries as well, but I don't know 100% what the story is in other countries. I know that in Australia you don't need it, and as well in I think UK you don't need them as well. I know of friends of mine who have traveled overseas specifically because they can't really crack the LSAT and can't get into a top school here. So hopefully this video is going to help you get to the bottom of what you need to do in order to improve. So I have 5 tips here for you that I think really helped me, and if I knew going into it these tips, I think I would have done way better in terms of, not necessarily better because I was already in the 98th percentile, but I think I would have done better in the sense that I wouldn't have needed as much time to get to that level. And I think it's the 98th percentile. The 173, I gotta see what it was. The range was 170 to 176, depending on, I guess they give you a range because they don't know 100%, you know, some of them you guess on. So these are my top tips. The first one I want to put is to make sure that you put in the right amount of time into the exam. I think a lot of times people don't necessarily know how good they are at it, and they start studying and they don't really invest as much time as they should, and sometimes they invest more time than they should. So the first tip is to do a diagnostic test, get an idea of where you're at, and then after the fact determine whether or not you're going to be putting 3 to 6 months. My personal perception is that if you do a diagnostic test and you're already above a 165, then I think 3 months is more than enough time for you, right? Now, on the flip side, if you do a diagnostic test and you end up in a 160 or below, then you might want to do a little bit more than that. I'm thinking around the 6-month mark. And then again, it's also going to be dependent on where you want to get to. Like, do you want to hit a 160 or do you want to hit a 170? Do you want to hit a 175? Where do you want to get to? It's definitely a learnable test. Trust me, getting from a 151 to a 173, that's a 22% increase. A lot of times people say you're going to max out at 15 points. You can't do more than that based on your diagnostic. And I don't think I'm an exceptional in any way. So I think anybody can do it if they put enough time into it. But it's going to take time. So that's the first tip. Make sure you understand where you want to hit. Set your goal right from the start. Know what you want to do, and really put as much effort into it as possible in order to get there. The other thing I have for me personally is that whatever you're doing, you need to be investing at least 6 to 8 hours a day in that period when you're studying for this exam. So definitely hit that mark, 6 to 8 hours. Tip number 2, right? This is a big one for me. Understand English grammar and syntax. You have to know English grammar and syntax in order to do well at the LSAT. In order to do well, you have to really have a strong handle on the framework of English. If you're good at English, you're going to do good on the LSAT, right? If you're good at English, you're going to do good in law school. So that's a huge part of it. It's understanding, comprehending English, and then also synthesizing it too. So both of those components, the understanding, the comprehending, the writing, if you practice your English, I guarantee you're going to get better at the LSAT as a consequence of the practice you put into English, and you're also going to get better. So for me, things that you want to learn, parts of speech, huge part, parts of a sentence, right? You're talking parts of speech. When we get into that, you want to know verbs, adjectives, adverbs, nouns, determiners, how they function, how they modify different words, how you group them together, how you get compound ones, all of that, right? You also want to know parts of a sentence, right? What is a subject? What is a predicate? Inside the predicate, right? Where's the action verb? Where's the object? Where are the complements? All those things, direct object, indirect object. You want to have a grasp of how they function together, how they work together. Again, independent clauses, dependent clauses, specifically under dependent clauses, noun clauses. You want to know about adjective clauses. Adverb clauses are huge at the LSAT, right? Understanding relationships between different elements. So you really want to focus on that. So my puppy's going crazy upstairs. Adverb conjunctions, also have that down there. Definitely understand how they work, syntax, all of that. Tip number 3, buy all of the prep tests that are out there. Again, I got to stress how important this test is in order to get to the right law school. Don't cheap out, Come on, it's gonna be a couple $100. Buy all the tests, every single one of them, and go through them, right? I'll tell you what I mean in tip 4 in terms of how I think you should go through them, but definitely buy all the tests, and also buy yourself a set of books. I use PowerScore. I feel they're fairly good. I'll put the link in the description below, but you can use any other set of books. There's a lot of good quality books out there, so definitely use those. I think they'll be really helpful for you. And again, I want to stress it: get all the tests. So many people think, oh, I'm going to be okay with 10 tests. Just get all of them and go through them, right? You're gonna thank me later. Repetition makes you better at anything you do. So definitely don't hesitate. Tip number 4, and this is essentially like, I want you to get an understanding of how you should be going through this. Once, for the first 20 tests, what you can do is you can go through the tests and the books at the same time. Just go through the books, go through the tests, learn how things work, get some practice on different sections, right? Take it slow, don't rush. Just burn those tests. People say don't burn tests. Trust me, there's nothing wrong. When you have 80 of them or 80 some, you can burn a few tests. First 20 tests, take it slow. The next 20, I want you to take your time going through each one of them, right? And this is after you've already finished the books. So from test 1 to 20, go through the books alongside the tests. And then from test 21 to 40, go through a test without timing yourself, but take as much time as needed in order to get as many questions correct as possible. So don't skip a question until you feel you have the best answer, right? Put as much effort into it. Sometimes you're going to spend 10 minutes on a question because you're going to not understand what they're asking you, right? Spend as much time as you can into that question to really get what they're trying, what they're testing, what they're asking before moving forward. That's going to really help you. And then for the last 40 tests, on the time condition, just so you can get used to the stress of the test, right? Because there's a lot of stress that goes into it. And then also always review. After you do them, slow review. You do the test fast, and then you go through the question, see the questions you did wrong, understand why you did them wrong, and keep hanging it out. And don't be afraid to go through a test second time if you have time, right? You're not going to remember the tests. Going through more questions is always better than not. And the final tip I have here, again, ties down to be ready for the pressure to test day one. I wasn't anticipating how much pressure there really is when you're there and you got to perform, right? You're gonna be in your own head. You're gonna be thinking things. You're gonna start reading, and your adrenaline is gonna be going through you, and you're gonna have a hard time really even comprehending what's on the paper. So you got to really calm yourself down. You got to get in that zone and start hammering them out. And don't feel bad if you don't get a question or two, right? It's totally fine, right? It's not a problem. If you don't get a question or two, just move on. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry, I know my dog's going crazy over there. Simba, he's a little chihuahua. Like I was saying, that's huge. Tip number 5. Some of the things I wrote down here is register in another LSAT for the month following. It's going to make you feel relaxed because you're going to know, hey, you know what, if I failed on this one, if I screw up on this one, I got another one lined up. No big deal, right? Don't stress about that. Another one that I have here is visit the test center beforehand and get familiarized with, where you're going to park, where you're going to go, all of that, just so you're not doing it on test day. It's a common tip that people say, but I don't think they stress it enough. That was a huge thing for me. Don't sweat it, right? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, man. A lot of times things don't work out in life. Just keep pushing, keep trying, and you're going to get the mark you want. If you have any direct questions, just post them in the comment section below. Don't hesitate to DM me, anything like that. Like I said, I'll be putting more content about law school, about applications, about how I got into the one school that I wanted to get into. I only applied for one school, so I didn't do a shotgun approach. I just did the application right. And it's not a bad school. I live here in Canada. It's one of the top 10 here. It's not that many schools here, but I'm also going to talk a lot about some of the businesses that I operate, passive income that I have from real estate. I used to trade real estate for 10 years, so I have a lot of experience in that area. Talk about the MBA, going through that process. I think I'm going to do some stuff on GMAT as well, and then the CFA as well. So there's a lot of stuff that is going to be coming your way. Definitely subscribe and like the channel.